I'm the global nanny, qualified Norland nanny with over 10 years experience and a parent to 2 under 2 myself. Welcome to my series of Back to Basics 101, with today being all about how to hold a baby. There's no right or wrong on how to hold a baby. It's really what is most comfortable for you and how to support them in the most safest way for whatever task you are performing. So let's get started. What you can see right here is probably the hold that you see most commonly with smaller children. You've got one arm under supporting their bottom and their back. They are giving you a slight cuddle, and your other hand is free to support their head and their neck, as they are not very strong when they are first born. Another great hold is the front one. Now, if your child has ever suffered with gas or does suffer with gas or is a little bit cranky, this is a really good way. This is also a fun one if your child is starting to be a little bit more interactive, so anything from that 3 weeks plus, because you can slightly gently rock their hips and their bottom, which releases the gas, but also just really good for developmental. It means they can see what you're doing, they can pick up the different lights and sounds and start visualizing what's around them. As you can see, this little one is very comfortable being in this position. Again, so what we've done is we've taken, this is my non-dominant arm to put underneath. I've got a not a tight grip, but I could, if something was to fall or if we were to trip or if something was to happen, I have a very firm grip where the base of my hand is right underneath her bottom, and then I can hold on to her hip as well. And then my other hand just comes across her chest. Now, the advantage of this is when your child does have a very wobbly neck in those first couple of weeks where they haven't got their neck strength yet, they are lying against my chest. Now, if you feel even more secure, if your child is very sort of flopping from side to side, you could take your thumb and your first finger and put that in there, and then hook your finger in under their thumb, under their armpit as well. So multiple different ways. So if you wanted to move forward, she's still very supported because we've got that hold going on there. And as we can see, we're also very comfortable. Now, tip 101, nothing to do with holding. Always have a muslin or a bib around, because when they're this little, they're really good at just putting little spit ups all over your tops and shirts. Another hold, this one is great. If you've got another child, you will need to keep your hands free. You're trying to do something at the same time. Or again, this is a really great one if your child has got gas or wind. You can have your hand for the back, your hand is completely free, where your hand could be doing and burping them. But at the same time, you're really secure and baby is really secure. What I like about this one is I find dads and caregivers are much more comfortable with this because the child is fully secured. There are certain holds that unless it's your own child or unless you're very comfortable with infants, that generally people find much more comfortable than others. This is one of those. So how do I do this? This is my dominant hand. I've crossed it over and I'm literally just feeding my hand under between her legs. Now, the one thing I'd like to say is you're not holding onto that leg, because by doing that, obviously you're opening up the hips and you're putting a lot of pressure on that outside hip. You are merely putting your hand through and almost holding like into the diaper, the nappy area, just from a support standpoint. Equally, her hand is going completely straight. If you were to pull it up, it would really close it in and probably make it a bit uncomfortable. This way, you can sort of move her as needed, move your little one as needed, to make them comfy. Again, this means they can look out, they can see the lights, they can still hear what's going on, and you can shift them and still have your hand free. Another hold, depending on how comfortable you are with your little one, is this. So this is more what I tend to use if the little one is getting a little bit cranky, if they've got some caught wind that just isn't working and it's not clearing. This allows you to do two things. It allows you to really soften up their hips so that when you're burping them, they can feel more comfortable. And you see she's just relaxed quite heavily while I've done that. It also allows you to support their head. So a really, really strong frame that you're going to have is just having this cup element. This is always going to be, you're not putting it into the neck, you're not going in, you're merely putting it up into sort of the cheekbone, up into the ears, so that as she moves or as your little one moves their head, you can support them. Now, she's just pulled her head up completely. That's absolutely fine. I'm not going to stop her doing that. But what I am going to stop is if she was to suddenly put her head down or side to side, she's supported where it's not suddenly going to jerk and have a jerk reaction to what is going on and therefore keeping her. So what I can do is I can sort of move her around, I can move her hips if we need to pull any gas out, and then equally it's easy enough for me to then push her into another position once she's more comfortable. You may be thinking, why do I need to know so many positions? Why is this useful? Now, you may have also heard me mention gas a couple of times, but also everyone's different. Everyone has different preferences, everyone has different needs. The way I held my first child that I nannied for versus the way I held my fifth versus the way that I hold my own children all vary depending on what your situation, where you are, what you're doing, how many hands you need free, how you're feeling on the day, because we also need to ensure that our own body and our own strength and posture is supported as well. And so what this really enables you to do is have a couple of different options available to have so that you can switch in and out depending on what works for you. This position is probably the most common. This is the position you'll probably find yourself feeding in, whether you're breastfeeding or feeding with a bottle, whichever it may be. It's also the position that most people tend to hold their children as they start to fall asleep, if you're holding your child as well. A crib, bassinet, stroller, buggy, changing table, whatever it may be. Now, a couple of things to bear in mind. Their head has to be supported. It's as much as you can see from the video that this one is very supportive of her head, still means I need to support her head, because at any moment if she gets tired, it could go backwards, which we do not want. So the way I tend to look at it is your second fingers and your thumb. You are almost creating a cup element. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the back. So I'm going to go around the back of her shoulders. My thumbs are going to be at the front. And I'm supporting her head by creating almost like an upside down V shape, like an arrow with my hands on the back of her head. Meaning that as I come to pick her up, at any point, if she was to push her head backwards, it is fully supported. And at that point, you can then put them into any position that you feel comfortable with out of the ones that we just looked at, plus any other that you find. Equally, if you're someone that has got a child that does have that little bit more of a support on their head, that's great, but I still really urge you that once you're picking them up, you always have the head supported. Another way, if you're not picking them up directly, some parents feel more comfortable because they like being under the elbow. So what I did, another way, if you don't feel that is as supportive as you need for your preference, taking your outside hand, feeding it under the shoulder to hold and cup the head. So I'm holding her head with my hand. What I'm then doing is placing her head on my elbow, on the inside of my elbow, my other hand under her bottom, and then I'm then picking her up. So really depending on the actual position you like to hold your child in will really depend on how you feel from a comfort standpoint as to picking them up. So, a couple of recaps. There's no right or wrong as to which way you hold your child. It is whatever is most comfortable for you, your little one, the age and stage. Just bear in mind when they are little, and by little I mean under 6 months, obviously they're still little for a long time, they cannot sit on your hip. So where you see people walking around and their child sat on their hip or it's sat on their side, that is not possible for a child of this size. You have to keep them in a position where their head is fully supported. They don't have yet the strength or the flexibility to sit on a hip. So making sure you find what is best for you and your child, for your situation, trying them out. There's no right or wrong, so trying all the different ones that work for you both, work for you and your family, and then equally is the most comfortable. Please like and subscribe for more other Back to Basics videos. If there are anything else that you think would be beneficial for me to demonstrate, for you to have an inquiry about, please put that in the comments or feel free to message me, and I'd love to look at making series that are actually beneficial to parents of what you would like to see and what will make your life easier.